happy to have her as my sister. I am more like my mother. So if you know my mother, I don't know what version of her, but really it's like copy and paste. Like copy and paste. So I'm really excited to be here, and when you talk about purpose, you actually, that's a thing that's very dear to me. It's very dear to me because my life took a complete 360-degree turn just to find my purpose. And it was totally God orchestrated, and I will explain to you why purpose and God cannot be separated. So I am a budding teacher, not an inherent one. So I usually really like to make sure that you also participate in this whole thing. So that'd be a one. And just to also test how much you know, so that I don't give you too much information. And so I shall also include you in my discussion. So when they say, what's the purpose? What comes to mind? What is your purpose? Or when they say the word purpose, what comes to mind? Don't worry, I won't ask many of you, just like 2 or 3. What comes to mind? Yes. What am I here for? Well, yes. So for you, you have actually put yourself in it as well. Yes. Yes, John.
What is my reason for living?
The reason for living. Okay. Anybody else? Yes.
Yeah. Reason for existence.
For existence. Great. When you say find purpose, it's a word that many people say, but I would be excited to really talk about building and living your purpose. Because I'm sure there are many of you who know your purpose but don't do anything about it, right? It's one thing to know, to find your purpose. It's another thing to build and live in it, yeah? Or live it out. So how many of you have formed your purpose? Or purposes? If there is a plural, papai. Okay, so there are 4 of you, right? Is there somebody else who's like, I have 4, not quite, I am not sure. Not sure? Okay, not sure. We have 1. So the rest of you don't know your purpose, right? Hey, this is Pamela Babirukamu. You don't know your purpose?
Yeah, I don't know mine.
You don't know yours. Great. You know why I'm saying that? She has just concluded one of the trainings you do, and one of the things you must find your purpose before you finish the course. It's a 10-week experience. And so she was one of those who she's graduating tomorrow. And she doesn't know her purpose.
I know. I didn't want to.
I'm very embarrassed. Anyways, so when they said, talk about finding your purpose, it's so exciting because that's what I live for now. Like, doing that for women, enabling them to find their purpose. One thing about purpose is that when you think about something, this mask, yeah? Some of us have been to Google to read about how to wear a mask, right? How many of you have read about how to wear a mask? When we are
Is
just
it
started,
blue or
I had
white?
to go and read which side it goes up, which side it goes down, Why? Because the person who created this mask had a purpose and put the metal thing up and not down, right? And that means that for everything that's created, there is an author. Are we together on that? You cannot buy a phone and take it home and not read its manual and think that you'll understand it. Actually, many of us have phones, but we barely understand the use of these phones. Like, we're only using it for receiving calls, WhatsApp, Facebook. Some of you even don't know how to get on Facebook, Twitter and all those things. But this phone is able to do so much more than you can think of. And it's only when you read the manual that you actually find the purpose. I can talk, that's one thing I'm good at. And so, everything has a purpose. And you as an individual, you're here not only on earth to do the things that you're doing. It's easy to say my purpose is to be a wife, my purpose is to be a mother, my purpose is to be a daughter. What happens when all those things are taken away? Because you can actually stay in this world and God forbid your husband is gone, your children are gone, and all those things that you've always hinged your identity are gone, what are you left with? You're left with God, right? You're left with God and your purpose, which no one can take away from you. That's how important it is. For example, my purpose is mine alone. It cannot be yours. It can be similar, but cannot be the same. Because God has brought each of us in this world for a specific purpose. So some of us might think having children, having jobs, being successful, all that is working towards purpose. But purpose is something that God has brought you here and specifically for you. Pamela Babirukamu, you have your purpose that no one else has. Not even Emma, not even Cameron Joy has my purpose. It's mine and mine alone. And so you forgive me, I wrote my notes and then I left them home. Then my daughter took pictures, which I'm struggling to read, but we shall get there. So one thing I've learned about purpose is that purpose is not created, it is found. So you can't say, me, I'll sit in my little corner and create my purpose. You only just go around looking for hints, life keeps unfolding until it finally gets you to a place where you understand this is my purpose. And you zero down on your purpose. Some of you might say, but my purpose last year is no longer my purpose now. Yes, it's possible. There are seasons of purpose. And you will find that you as an individual, maybe because you're going through a period of youth or having kids in your house who are youthful, maybe the teenagers, you have a burden for them. And so you find that that's what you're passionate about at that point in your life. When they grow and get married, you might phase out of that. Like I know somebody who used to have a heart for the youth. My mother used to have a heart for the youth, in all sense. Right now she has a heart for grandmothers and old women. And what's changed? It's not that her purpose has changed, it's that the seasons have changed. The seasons have changed. She finds herself more inclined, or she feels for the old women more than she feels for the youth any longer. Probably forgotten because the rest of us have grown old, who used to be the youth at that point. So you'll find that you also have seasons of purpose. But one thing I just wanted to bring out was that you were created with a purpose, and finding it is one of the best things you can do. There's a guy called Mark Twain. He said, the most important days of your life are knowing the day that you were born and the day you find out why you were born. When you find out why, you know, a sigh of relief. I will not start mentioning the things that give you the relief that you feel good. It's like going to the toilet and you come out feeling better. That's the experience of finding your purpose. It grounds you. If you know what grounding is, you know? Many times you find you're here today, you're here tomorrow, you're everywhere. But when you find your purpose, there is a sense of, should I say satiety? Like, I've arrived. So when people are saying, hey, there is Bitcoin, there is, you know, all those things people talk about. For me, I'm like, no, that's not my area. Let them make money. Let me stay focused in this area that is mine. That's the beauty of finding purpose, is that you find some degree of focus and some sort of settlement. And so, I would like to tell you a bit about my story. I was just basically giving you a background, and I'll tell you a bit of my story by first explaining about who I am. Like maybe understanding the person that is seated before you and why I ended up where I am doing the things that I ended up doing. I have a book here that has a detail of my life and my story. If you're interested, my sister Dora is my sales girl for today. It's only 30,000 for you, but 35,000 ordinarily Aristoc and Book Point. But if you'd like to read about the journey and the struggles of a woman who's trying to find her purpose, everything is in there. So how did I find my purpose? And I'm just going to give you a little brief of who I am. Maybe just describe myself. You will understand why I'm giving you all this detail at some point. So I'm the third born of 5 biological, but I think 15 children, right? My mother is called Musombawana. That one she did with one heart. So I am the third born, and growing up, I was very different from Emma, and I must say it was one of my biggest issues as I was growing up, because in school I was always compared to her, and yet I had to be my own person. So I was the kind of person who was super inquisitive. I asked why, but why? You must explain to me why. For those of you who were trained, some of you were told how to buchari and school when you were in primary school. People never asked questions, why? But the one thing that when I was told, I said why, they gave me a funny answer. Funny answer was, because it's for the good of your husband in the future. And here I was, a young girl, being told that, and I remember asking the question, but what is he doing for me and I'm doing this one? So I've always been the kind of person who questions everything. I don't take everything as it comes. Even if I just say yes, I'll still go back and say, but why? Why? Why did she leave that place and come and sit here? But why? No, I would like to know. So I was a very inquisitive person. I questioned literally everything. And I spoke my mind exactly, and I still do speak my mind. I'm learning how to stop being brutally honest and be graceful in my speech. Because I say it exactly as it is. And all my friends know, if you want the truth, go to Pamela, she will give it to you. And sometimes I don't even, sugarcoat it if I want you to understand it well. So that is one of my characters. I am also very compassionate. So compassionate to the point that I will probably undress to give out this quote. My friends know me for literally undressing me. Someone will say, can I take the earrings? Take. I am that kind of person. I am also, and the reason why, I will tell you why I'm telling you all this about myself. I am also very sensitive. Super, super sensitive. And super sensitive in the sense that I can tell someone who is sad, even when they're not my friend. In a room and people making noise and there's someone who is unhappy, I'll be drawn to that person who is unhappy. I am the kind of person, if you say something, I want to understand the context in which you say it to me. So I understand where you're coming from. I'm that super sensitive person. And because I'm super sensitive, I'm also the kind who is super sensitive to hear what the Lord is saying. Yeah? So I'm one of those people who is a dreamer. I dream about things in the future. I can dream about you coming to see me, and sure enough, you will come to see me. I dream about people who are crying, and I call them and they are going through a tough time. So I'm one of those people who is super, super sensitive. So I also, I have the greatest, I have the greatest sense of smell. I smell things people don't smell. And when I was young, I was actually beaten by maids most times, because I'm the one who would say, I can smell paraffin in the food. You know, all the bidomolas were initially paraffin bidomolas before they become water bidomolas. That's how it was in the past. So I'm the one who tests the paraffin in the food. And when I say it, my mom would say, it's actually paraffin in the food. So the maids often beat me. And then we tested everything in the food. So I have a very strong sense of smell. So I am a natural advocate for women. It's inherent. I've always fought for women. There's a book called Dying Empty, if you've read it, by Todd Henry. And he's basically explaining to you why you tend to gravitate to your purpose. And he said each of us has got something called compassionate anger. I know the two words don't go together. It's like an oxymoron, right? Compassionate anger. If there is something I have, it's for women. If I am driving a car and I see a woman being beaten, I promise you I will not drive by. I will come out and try to understand, or at least challenge the man, how can you beat a woman? Sincere. Or at least look for people, gather people to come and rally with me and do something about it. Naturally, that's who I am. And I will not also walk past a woman who really looks like, have you been on a plane and you see someone's crying? Or you're at an airport and someone's crying, like in a place where everyone wants to mind their business, but someone is crying. I somehow always find myself going to say, okay, I know you don't know me, but maybe you might want to talk and maybe I will listen. It might make a difference. Yeah? So that's who I am. So why am I giving you all this about myself? Maybe I'll give the last bit is I'm also a woman who's gone through so many women issues. When I say women issues, I know some of you might be here and you have had issues in marriage but you have children. Or you've not had children but you are happily married. Like you have one or the other, but I'm one of the people who's been through divorce, childlessness, you know, all those women things. I built a home and walked out and left it behind for the man. I've been through so many things. And the most challenging thing is seeing yourself grow to a certain level, and at 40 when life should have begun, for me at 40 I went back to live with my parents. Why? I was so broke and I'd been kicked out of the one home I called mine. I was still paying a loan on that house when I was kicked out of it. So why am I giving you all these stories? Because your purpose always gravitates to so many issues in your life. Your purpose gravitates to what we call the shape. If you have a pen and a paper, I want you to write the word shape, S-H-A-P-E, and explain to you why I was giving you so much about background of who I am. So the shape is, one is your spiritual gifting. The H stands for the heart, which is often called the passions that you have. Like you can say, I have a passion for cooking. For me, I have a passion for women. I'm also one of those women who is very, very, I love beauty, I love fashion, I love things to do with women, yeah? So I am naturally a woman who gravitates to women's stuff. My businesses have been around business that, you know, things that gravitate towards women. So the H is your heart or passion, the things you're passionate about. The A are your abilities, the things that you are born with naturally, but also those that you pick along the way. Like someone might say, I'm a good public speaker, maybe they just enhanced it, but maybe they're inherently very good public speakers. So those are the abilities. Your abilities can be, you're a good speaker, you're a good mobilizer, you're a good, whatever your abilities are. And like, I'm sorry, I'll keep giving my mother as an example, but I know my mom has a natural ability to mobilize. Yeah? It's inherently her gifting or her ability. And so, in your purpose, you must be able to acknowledge your abilities. And those abilities are the things that will draw you still back to your purpose. And then the P is your personality. So some of us don't like to be called certain personalities because people have demeaned them. Like for us who are sanguines, you find, you know what sanguines are? Yeah? You've heard about personalities and you've done personality tests. So some of us who are sanguines, we've always been pulled down that we are indisciplined, they talk about all the bad things. But guess what? There's a place for a sanguine in society. And so you must embrace your personality. Now for me, I am what they call a too much woman, if you've heard of that story. If you've heard of that phrase, the too much woman. So a too much woman is someone who has strong personality through and through. I am a sanguine stroke choleric. Now I am totally an extrovert. Some people are introverts, you know. They're quiet, they go slow, they don't do things fast, they think twice about it. Me, I'm always on the go. I get up with an idea, I go for it. I can even send for things from China and say, I'm going to sell this. And in 1 second, they're already on the way coming and I didn't even plan. How am I going to market? Who am I going to target? I just knew it was a good idea. Yeah? And this is all about personality. But your personality always points you to your purpose. And that's why we must be able to embrace who we are. And so after this, I hope that you can actually be unapologetically who you are. Apologetically phlegmatic. Phlegmatics are the people who go slow, but guess what? They are always calculated. They go slow and sometimes they don't go very far because they fear risks. But they also have a place in society. So no matter what your personality is, it always points you to your purpose. And the last thing is experience. Now, in my speech about myself, I have told you basically so many things about me. My experiences of being married for 10 years, childless, divorced, kicked out of the house, became broke, went back home, and I'm single again. At what age? I made 46 a few days ago. Yeah? It's easy for someone to say, but Bananga life was really tough and how it was really bad. Guess what? All those experiences had to happen to point me to where? To my purpose. So the question now goes back to you. Are you self-aware enough to know your shape? Are you self-aware enough? Because you will not find your purpose if you don't know your shape. What are your spiritual giftings? I am prophetic. That's my spiritual gifting. I'm also a teacher, but this is something I'm learning now. But I'm an administrator as well. I'm a leader. And I've always known that about myself. So when you have whatever it is that is your spiritual gifting that God has given you, and I'm not going to go to the Bible to explain those spiritual giftings. That's a story for another day. But you must be able to notice, are you a prophet? Are you a pastor? What are the different giftings? Teacher, evangelist, yes. Service. Okay, so you must be able to know what your spiritual gifting is, and that points you to your purpose. You must be able to know what your passions are. For me, my passion is women. I have a passion for young men. Why? Because it still leans towards women. Why do I have a passion for young men? I'm desperate for women, for mothers to raise good sons for our daughters. That's the passion I have for the young men. It's the feeling of there are barely any good husbands. You might be the lucky ones who have good husbands. But people have not been trained. For us, we are overempowered. You're in mother's union. Some of your husbands have never stepped in father's union. They are not as knowledgeable as the women are. So the question is, I find myself gravitating towards the younger men, hoping that they can make a difference and not be the same as the men that we are seeing today. But it's all because I have passion for women and for the girl who will get married to that man. And I find myself attracting women. I barely have male friends. You can count them on the fingers of the palm. And I'm not even attracted to making friends with men. I always find myself with things. I am in an all-women's, we have one called Bawala. Bawala Club, where Dora is. We eat life with a spade. We are life eaters. Yeah? I am in an all-women group for money. We do cash rounds and we are collecting money. We want to build the first women's bank. And I find myself attracted there. I'm also in another group of all women that also just goes traveling wherever we can go and say, let's go to Chobe, let's go where, let's go and have fun. I find myself in such communities. Why am I drawn there? It's because that's where my passion is. And I find it easy to relate with women more than men. Now, when it comes to abilities, I'm very compassionate, like I said. I am the kind of person who is, in a way, I would call myself fearless. I walk to you and ask you about a tough question that maybe everybody else will fear to ask you. And when I realized all this put together, my shape explained the reason why my purpose is centered around women. So I'm going to tell you what my purpose is, and I will say it the way we do. He said, I live to empower women to live life to their full potential through confidence building and self-awareness. So now my purpose is that specific. I am not an all-women, all-round. I don't do financial management. I don't do what. I find that because of my shape, I gravitate towards confidence building and self-awareness. I would say that I am a very self-aware person, although sometimes I am stubborn. I don't want to actually deal with certain situations in my life. But I am so aware. Thank you. And so I just want to give you a second to think about your shape and how it influences your purpose. So I'm sure by now some of you are already knowing that, you know what, from the way I'm so passionate about something. A friend of mine, who is actually a member of Mothers Union, Petwa, called me yesterday and said, you know, I didn't sleep last night. I woke up and started writing I got a vision of what I would like to do for my purpose. That's how much the purpose unsettles you. Until you find your purpose, it's impossible for you to settle. Some of you might think you're settled, but until you find your purpose, everything else will just not, like that song Tubare by Eddie Kenzo. Yeah? You know why? Because success is no longer, to me, as a person who's discovered my purpose, success is no longer in the things that I amass. Success is no longer in the things that I have collected for myself. For me, success now is more of significance, and that's one of the things we teach women. That what is it that you're doing that leaves a legacy? You can't leave a legacy by building a beautiful house and putting your kids in the best schools unless you actually train your kids to have the best character. That's a good legacy. But you will not leave a legacy of I have 200 blocks of flats in Kampala and a fleet of 20 cars. That's not legacy. Because it's fleeting. It's here today and it's gone as soon as you're gone. It might actually go before you're left, right? Some people are unfortunate, you get to see everything go before you leave this world. What is success to you or to the person who has discovered their purpose? It's actually the significance. What is that you're doing in the people's lives around? What's the impact that you're having in other people's lives? Some people might say, for me, my impact is in my children. I only invest in my children, me, my children, my family, us. You know, you have so much, but your immediate family, your sister's kids don't have school fees. Eh? That kind of success can never be valued by God. Why? Because everything God has given us is to be used for other, for you are his hands and his legs here on earth, right? If he's given you excess in terms of finances, it's meant to actually be shared. And if you have excess, it means that you are a kingdom financer. That's one of the purposes that you have. And if you have excess of love, have you seen people who know how to hug? Is that something you even take note of? You've seen kids who know how to hug. You've seen adults who know how to hug. Those ones are inherently compassionate. And their job is to actually cheer up people and make life here for them a better place. Some of you see your children doing that and you're thinking to yourself, hey, this kid can be too much. He's the one who hugs everybody who comes on. He's the one who's like like I was still called, I was the entertainment minister in our house. When the visitors came, I was like, hey, you're welcome, do you want this? I can sit here. Then when they come with kids, a man who's quick to grab the child and go out with the child. So everybody had a place. Everybody had a place. Others were probably in the kitchen. Me, I was not so much of a kitchen person. Me, I'm a typical, like a Martha, but Martha listened. Me, I don't. I want to participate. I want to participate. And so it's important for you to be self-aware, to discover your purpose. At this point, I just want to talk briefly about growing up and knowing what my character was, and my own mother many times would find me a little bit too much for her to raise or contain. Yeah. And so as you grow up, you realize that there are things people have spoken into your life a lot, and then you start questioning your own character. So you say, this kid is too quiet. For you can never say anything. For you can never contribute anything. And you really get on their nerves. But that is who they are. They are good listeners. And then people like us who are talkers, our job was to talk. And there's a plus for us, because we're still talking up to today. And for me, on my report card, it was she could do better in class if she talked less. S1, from P1 to S6. If university had that comment, they would have also given it to me. But I reached a point where my parents were used to eat and I didn't even make a difference. It was just expected. Now when I grow old, I have learned to be unapologetically who I am. To embrace myself and say, I might be a too much woman according to society, because society said, "Mana yo chala sinikako, chala yebumbako." You don't have to be everywhere. Yeah? My mom used to say, "Yes, it's jinemu." And you wonder, "Yes, it's jinemu what?" I want to do more. Actually, inside me is boiling for more. You get it? And so you realize that you have children like me, and you don't understand. I adopted 2 kids, and I have one who is so much like me, but we fight. Even on phone, before I came in here, I was still fighting with her on phone. You tell her do this, she goes the opposite side. And she's very comfortable the other side. And she'll give you a reason why, because she's always arguing, you know? But it's like a test of my own medicine, yeah? But you must be able to appreciate that everyone is inherent in what they are for a purpose. That's the reason why we have some of you who are very calm, because they're supposed to calm us down. When I'm screaming and I'm fighting, I'm quarreling, if I quarrel with someone whose tone is down, I will definitely calm down. You can't continue screaming when somebody is just looking at you. Yeah? I'm sure some of you have husbands like that. Who just look at you when you're quarreling or vice versa. Yeah? So, I have learned that you must be self-aware to discover your purpose. And so I am throwing it back to you. What is your shape? What is your shape? You really need to sit down and take stock of what your shape is. And appreciate, there's even a personality test. I'll send it to Emma, a link. You just click onto it and it will just run down everything for you. As in, you answer so many questions, but at the end of it all, it tells you what your spiritual giftings are, what your passions are, everything based on the questions that you have answered. So it's important for you to be self-aware if you're going to find out what your purpose is. So I would like to end by talking about the benefits of knowing your purpose. I think as I was speaking, I'm sure you were picking out some benefits. And one of the benefits I have found is I am so fulfilled. Like I said, when I turned 40, I went back to zero. Back to my parents' house at 40. I'm sure some of you haven't turned 40 and you even can't imagine how you can go back to your parents' house at 40 with 2 children and a maid. That's how much of a burden I was for 1 year. But why? Because I believe that God let me go through all those experiences for this one reason, for my purpose. Because the thing that I deal with on a daily are women who are literally going through varied issues in life. I have one who comes to me and says, "Bana, they tell me how the woman is not having children. And by the time I sit down with you and speak to you, you're feeling better." I have others who talk to you about divorce and you're going to support them. There are others who are single again like me, and those who are single now, I still understand them well. I can only imagine if I was not married for those 10 years and I was still single up to today, how would it have been? Because I have friends who are 46, single, some are virgins, 46 years. You picture what is going on in their minds. Some of them have closed their doors to even love or relationship. They think it's the farthest, that's not for me, I think God didn't intend it. But guess what? There's still hope. And guess what? You were still created for a purpose even in that situation. And so I have come to appreciate my journey. My journey has been one of turmoil, a lot of struggles, but where I am now, I am at a point where I feel fulfilled. And the first thing about finding your purpose is fulfillment. Sometimes I enter my bed and I sleep, and I wonder if everybody out there is enjoying sleep the way I'm enjoying it. And when I wake up and fail to sleep for a second, I have to keep remembering, hey, by the way, sleep is one thing God already gave me as a gift. I must enjoy it. I even speak to myself, and I drift back into sleep. And you might say, what? I'm still renting a house, and still far from where I wanted to be financially. But guess what? I sleep well. When a woman calls me and says, I'm trouble, I have this issue, please speak to me, tell me what to do. By the time we are off our phone and the person is smiling, that's enough for me to enter my bed content. So finding your purpose gives you some sense of fulfillment. Fulfillment that no amount of money or anything can ever give you. If you find your purpose and you also have the money, that's an excellent place to be. One, because the money will no longer be your master. You know that it's for a reason. It's actually for that purpose that you are created for. So it always also has legs and hands where it is actually going. So fulfillment is number one. The second one is you have greater impact in life. Because I know I am called for this, I tend to speak with authority. Do you get what I mean? It's like how you can say, when I'm speaking to women who have not had children, I'm not speaking to them the way many of you would. Many of you would even look for me, Pamela, let's go and visit my friend so you can encourage her. Because you don't feel qualified. But guess what? I feel qualified in so many ways to speak to women. I feel qualified because I know many of the very issues that they have. And so I will go into a space where people don't have children and I'm encouraging them. I'll go into a space where people are single and I'll encourage them. I'll go into a space for women who are separated and divorced. They have a book like that exists. And you're encouraging them when they're going through divorce, you tell them, hold your hand and say, I will be there with you in court. Just my presence there should be enough. Because you don't know what happens in court. Actually, divorce is the thing you don't wish for your worst enemy. Someone can tell a lie in broad daylight in court, and you have to deal with that. So you find that if you are called in a certain space, you speak with authority, and therefore you definitely have more impact. The third one is that it comes with purpose comes value. Yeah? I know some of you might have poor self-worth. And by the way, have you seen people who have it according to you and they have low self-esteem? They actually don't think that, someone you say, you pull them out and you speak well of them and they're like, is it me you're speaking about? No, that's not me. But with purpose comes with a lot of value. Value attached to you because you're actually creating impact in society. Impact in the space that God has given you. So with also purpose comes with a life of integrity because you're leading a group of people. If it's the youth, they're looking up to you. If it is you're called in a marketplace, people are looking up to you. How are you behaving? How are your finances being used? Are you misusing them? So there's that integrity that comes with people watching you. And so you find that many times you have to put yourself together. Like I was just telling people, I embarked on a weight loss journey. And I have lost 16 kilos. Although I'm still humongous. But you can't believe it, I have lost 16 kilos. What's my motivation? I want to walk the talk. I'm teaching women self-worth. How can you have self-worth when you're not taking care of yourself? And the eyes on me are so many. So I keep pushing myself, you know what? There's no going back now. I need to really maintain this and work towards losing. And my target is to lose another 25 kilos. If I get there, well and good. When I reach somewhere, I don't go away and realize, no, I think I'm looking terrible, then I probably stop. The reason why is I realize that also our bodies, you have to know, you have to be so self-aware to even know how much weight you should carry. For you to be swift. And if God has given you work to do, you better live long to do that work. I keep seeing myself at the door, at the gate of heaven, and God is saying, now you, what has brought you at this time? Do you know how many more women needed you? And here you are at this time. Do you know how many more years I planned for you? That keeps ringing in my head. And then I have to tell myself I need to eat healthy. So there are certain times when you find yourself in a spot where you must have some sense of accountability. So with your purpose comes accountability. With your purpose also comes some sense of direction. You don't find yourself all over. I'm one of those people who likes to do everything. If there's a coach for this, yes. A coach for this, I go for this course, I want for. But I've reached a point where, no, it's okay. That area is not for me. That area is not for me. Let me just know how to live out my purpose well. And so I'm doing all my investment in that area. I'm always reading about self-worth, self-care, confidence building, self-awareness, and all that. And then I will also say that you are also what you are because of your purpose. Your purpose defines you. There are many of us who like to be our identities. I am Mrs. So and so, Mama Godi, like I said. All those things can be yanked away from you, right? What do they leave you? They leave you an empty shell, naked, and yet you actually are, you have so much purpose. I always tell people that for me, I am a broken and parted piece that is still fit for purpose. Broken in the sense that when people look at your life, it just does not make sense. But guess what? It's still fit for purpose. So each of us is like that. So at any one point, you should be able to understand that your identity is actually your purpose. It's not all those things that we have attached to ourselves. So I'd like to conclude by talking about, I didn't talk about the cost. The cost of knowing your purpose. Sometimes you have to let go of certain things, like I've said. The cost can be the experiences that you go through that actually build your purpose. And not everybody is going to find pain in purpose. Some of you are going to find purpose in success. So don't think, all of you, oh my God, by the time I go through all the things Pamela has gone through, I'll be dead. God knows that you can't handle. He will give you other things. Yeah, He'll give you other things. You also have an area in your life where you're actually waiting. Yeah? Everybody has a waiting period. It can be just even your child changing. You've done everything right, but your child decided to just go the other direction. And that's the reason why we have our mothers on board for the course that I'm just going to talk to you briefly about. We decided to bring on board the older women. We call them queen mothers, those who are 51 and above. You might be 50 and you're feeling, how they call me a queen mother. Don't worry, you've seen some good years and you have a lot of wisdom. Don't worry. So we call them queen mothers. Why do we bring them on board? Is that we as women, we tend to carry issues. Before you get married, you have so many concerns. When you're married, you have so many. When you get married, your concerns are for children, husband, and everything. When you get older and you have grandchildren and your children are married, you're still carrying your children as a mobubu. Even your grandchild never got a place in Gayaza, that also gives you pressure. We find you dying. Why? The kid doesn't go in a place in Gayaza. So women are perpetually carrying things all their life. And then we're basically telling them, relax, breathe in, breathe out. There's a lot of purpose in you. Don't hinge yourself on all those things that are around you, because they don't actually define you at the end of the day. So the cost can be the experiences that we go through. The cost can also be the training that we go through. It can be a monetary cost for training. It can also be the training through experience that we go through. That's the cost of purpose. But the benefits of purpose far outweigh the costs. So it is worth knowing what your purpose is. So I would like to conclude by saying that it's important for you to be self-aware. It's a non-negotiable if you want to live a fulfilled life. And many of us bury our heads in the sand. We don't want to know certain things about ourselves. Or we have decided that there's something about my childhood that is my secret, I will hide it. For example, that maybe my father was a janitor. I'm giving just a lousy example. It could be that, yes, my father was a gatekeeper or a certain school. I don't want you to know that as part of my background. But guess what? All those things put together make you who you are. You have got to embrace your credo. Embrace the journey. Embrace the walk. Wherever you have passed, there have been things. You have met mothers, union women for a reason. You're not seated in this place because I didn't have anything to do. You're here for a reason. It might not be known to you now, but in 5 years' time, you might be the one saying, you know what, after that I discovered my purpose and my life has never been the same again. So there's never a mistake. So lastly, don't just find your purpose, build it, live it, and leave a worthwhile legacy. Thank you very much.